What up? This is Rama screen for the movie Gook, which opens. Yes, which opens in theaters August 18. And I'm here with the director and star of the film, Justin Chon, and co-stars Simone Baker and David So. How you doing, guys? Good. So let me start with you, Justin. Now, you've directed before, but I feel like this movie seems very intimate and personal. Maybe that's, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the impression I get, because it tackles some cultural and generational themes, in addition to it being set around the Rodney King backdrop. So why did you decide to tackle these themes for your directorial feature, and why did you tell it in black and white format?
Well, first of all, a bit of history during the riots. Uh, it was just the nature of the times, but Koreans were probably the most financially hit by the riots of '92, and uh, included in that sort of melee was my dad's business. So we got looted during the riots, and so it was always it is a very personal experience, and I was 11 at the time, so I saw the event through an 11-year-old's eyes. But you know, I had wanted to make a film about something with the backdrop of the riots, and I had heard about a few other films that were going to be made. So I got a hold of some of the scripts, and I realized very quickly that the Korean experience was not going to be adequately covered or authentically portrayed. So I felt that I had a very unique perspective that I'd like to share. As for the black and white, this film, the biggest influence is La Haine. There's a lot of parallels between that film and some of the themes in this film. So that was a huge influence, and that film was in black and white. Also, I think I didn't want the audience to spend the first 15 minutes kind of picking apart the film and seeing if it was period perfect. And I don't know, metaphorically or symbolically, there's a lot of talk about race and racial tension and stuff, but you don't really see color in the film. And the final reason is we were broke. We couldn't afford blue, yellow, red. We can afford it. Like you have to pay for those colors. Just kidding.
Now, Simone, obviously you were not around in 1992, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
She was in the ether.
There you go. The ether spirit. So what type of preparation did Justin or maybe you yourself provided in order to help yourself get into this mindset of this character, or did you just approach it in a way that to see in terms of how your character affects these two guys? Is that your approach?
Before I met up with Justin and the producers, my mom basically she informed me about all this stuff. She told me about all this stuff that happened, and then Justin explained it in a much understanding way, a more understanding way. My mom got all technical, so I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Do you understand? Because I can talk more." And I'm like, "I understand." So I was glad I got to work with him because he explained to me what happened and how how it was just brutal back then, and it was really bad, but I mean, and it was good to work with him because also I was informed about um the history of what happened in 1992, because before I did know about the LA riots, but I wasn't really much informed about it.
How was Justin as the director, and did he teach you some of those salty language?
Well, well, he was a great director. Well, um, well, no, he did not teach me. But my mom, she kind of said like, you have to say. I was like, no, please, no. I said, can I replace it with fudge or something? But I just had to end up saying it, but I just had to work through it.
Great performance, Simone. And David, first of all, as a YouTuber, I look up to you, man. I admire YouTube stars like yourself. I can only wish to have an audience like you do. So, no, of course, your background is comedy, and then this movie's comedic elements is mostly thanks to you. But you also held your dramatic moments just as solid. So, can you talk about what that experience is like, capturing or flexing your dramatic muscles for this?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely difficult. I think like perception is hard to break just because you have like a certain people have a certain expectation of you just because of kind of like the image that you've already built up to this point, right? So if you've been on YouTube, people always see how far you can go in this platform. And if you've done comedy since you were 16, people can only see you in comedic roles. So I think even more, just beyond like kind of working past what I had to work towards or work past, it's kind of working past what everybody else perceived of me. I think that was probably one of the more things that kind of fucked with my head the most. And so, yeah, it was definitely a hard job, but at the same time, like because it was such a personalized story, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be in terms of that. But it was. Yeah, I mean, comedy is definitely my forte versus versus drama.
Are you gonna stick around now as a producer in this industry, or are you gonna do a comedy tour, or are you gonna sing another song for us in the video? What's next?
I mean, now it's just kind of like figuring out, like I mentioned before, like kind of how this started to unravel or just develop. It kind of blew past my expectations. So now it's like, for me growing up, like maybe not growing up, maybe in like the past few years, like, oh, I would love to be in a film in Sundance. Now it happened a lot quicker than expected. So it's like, where do I set my next goal towards? And so as of right now, it's going to be towards, I mean, I'm still going to be working on my channel, but the next thing is just to probably go full into acting.
Let me know if you need a guest star on your YouTube channel. Now, Simone, back to you. So what did you learn from this experience? Because I know you've done American Horror Story and all these other gigs. And I always ask this question to child actresses. Are you gonna stay? Are you gonna pursue? Oh, my apologies, human being, young actresses. So, are you gonna pursue acting as your career, or are you gonna maybe go to college and try to pursue something else? Is this what you see for you?
Yes, I do want to continue acting because I really like it. It's fun because you can be different people. You can act as different characters. It's very, very cool and fun. And also, I love the craft services.
That's always a good reason. Yes. Justin, back to you. As I'm winding down to my final questions, and this is kind of like a loaded question, and I'm sure you probably got this 1,000 times. What's the current climate now like for Asian independent filmmaker in this industry?
It's not really a loaded question because it's just reality. It's extremely difficult, and that's just the absolute, most blunt way to say it. There's no support. Trying to raise financing for this film was so difficult. Even after we put it in the can, trying to raise, doing our Kickstarter was so difficult. Because, I think the current state of at least our community, we have a lot of sort of whistleblowers, and we have a lot of people who want to talk about the problems, which is great. We need those people. But I think what we're lacking is supporting actual rising voices. In my opinion about, this is just my opinion about the most effective way for things to change is, you can badger studio execs and heads of studios trying to mandate diversity and diverse filmmaker voices, but it's harder to move a conglomerate than it is to just make stuff yourself. So with like people like the Wayans brothers or Tyler Perry, or in the African American community, you've seen it, and they've created their own industry, which they support. And so you see a lot more than you do in the Asian community, their own tailored content. So, with a film like this, it's so important that, if diversity matters to you, or, the whole whitewashing thing, if you have an opinion about that, when this film comes out in theaters, so important to come out and support it, regardless of whether you like the film or not. Because right now, I don't think that matters whether you like the content. There's just too few of us. So for example, like this film, or the next year when Crazy Rich Asians comes out, it's important that we support those films because it's just like we need to show people that our voice matters, and it's a viable commercial option for studios. But as far as indie film, it's alternative storytelling, and with indies you can be a lot more truthful and a lot more authentic to a very personal ethnic experience. So I think I'm hoping that this film can be a contribution towards the right sort of trajectory for Asian American indie films.
Last question for you, Justin. It's a two-part question. What do you hope the audience will take away from watching Gook? And for your next gig, will you be directing another project, or are you going to take a break and go back to acting for a while?
Yeah, what I want people to take away from this is, this film was made with a bunch of Black and Asian kids. It went to Sundance. I don't know how, but it won the audience award, and it wasn't a jury that decided that; it was the audience. So I think there's merit in that, and I hope people will give it a shot. Also, another thing is, it has a backdrop of the LA riots, but it's not a film that divides. I think it's more of a film that brings communities together. As far as directing, I'm doing a book adaptation right now, and I'm writing 2 original scripts. And as far as acting, I started a show called Deception for ABC, and it'll be out mid-season.
Thank you so much, Justin, Simone, and David. And fans, go watch Gook in theaters August 18. Wider release August 25th. Thank you so much, guys. Hey, congratulations, y'all.
For sure.
Yes.